Good morning. There's a certain atmosphere, at least here in Canada, of people. There's just a certain thing that's going on where some of us are outspoken about what's happening in the world and in our country, here in Canada in particular, and others who just basically say, "Don't rock the boat," don't make waves. If you don't have anything nice to say about what's going on, about our government, about our prime minister, about the way the system is operating right now, then best say nothing and avoid punishment. A lot of people do feel that way. What I would have to say about that is that it's much better to speak up under these circumstances than it is not to, because freedom is extremely important, especially freedom of speech. And I've heard these people say, well, what do you mean we've lost our freedom? I am free to speak. Well, yes, they are free to speak, people who say that, but they're only free to speak because they're in agreement. Because they're in agreement with the authorities, they're in agreement with the government. Basically, what's happened is they've been given leave to speak. They have permission to speak because they're saying things that the government considers the right things to say. Being given leave to speak and being free to speak are two different things. Being given leave to speak and having the right to speak are two different things. I don't want to be in a situation where I may or may not be given leave to speak, depending on what I have to say. I'm going to have to insist that I be allowed the freedom to speak, and not even allowed the freedom to speak, because the freedom to speak is my God-given right. It is not a thing that the government can allow or disallow. I don't have the freedom to speak because the government says so. I have the freedom to speak because God says so. And God supersedes the government. His authority supersedes the government's authority. And why on earth would I agree that the government should have the authority to either give me leave to speak or forbid me to speak when God has already given me the authority to speak? That's what it boils down to. And the bottom line is this: those who are being allowed to speak now by the government are only being allowed to speak because they've been given leave to speak. Because they've been given permission, because they're saying the, quote, right things, unquote. Okay? That's not good enough. That's not good enough. The thing is, they think they're free because have been given leave to speak. They're not free because that leave to speak can be withdrawn at any time. The right to speak is sacrosanct and cannot be withdrawn. And that's why I'll uphold a person in their right to speak, even if they speak things that I don't like, even if they speak things I find offensive, I'll uphold them in their right to speak. But at the same time, I expect my own right to speak to be upheld. It's as simple as that. And, the reason that I complain about not being allowed to speak, about being censored, the reason I complain about that isn't because I don't expect it to happen, because I know it happens. And it isn't because I'm looking for trouble so that will have a reason to complain. The reason that I complain about it is because it's an injustice. It's no different than anything else. Look, they may start throwing us into prison, they may start doing all kinds of things with us because we dare not to go along with the narrative. Now, possibly many people could avoid that by just going along with the narrative. But if you do that just because you're afraid of punishment, well, then you're already in prison in a way. Bottom line is, it's important to me that myself and everyone else not just be given leave to do things that would appear, so that it appears we have freedom, but that it's understood by the authorities that what we're doing we have a right to do. There's no giving us leave to do it. They have no authority to either tell us we can or tell us we can't, because it's already been established by a much higher power that we have that right. It's called free will, and it was given to us by God. The only exception really to that rule would be in certain cases if a person is actively and graphically and obviously promoting an agenda that would involve, say, stirring people up to go after other people and injure them or kill them or whatever. That would be a different thing. If you're standing there saying we ought to go after a certain ethnic group and get rid of them, well, that should be forbidden. But as far as expressing an opinion about what the authorities are doing, or what they have done, or what they will do, as far as voicing an opinion about the current state of the world, and so on like that, and why the world is in the shape it's in right now, that's our right. That's our right, and we should cherish it, and we should protect it, because it's disappearing. And it's not disappearing because of corruption in high places, really. It's corruption in high places that's pushing for the disappearance of it. But really, it's disappearing because too many people are going along with it. Too many people are saying, oh, okay, I don't really like what's happening, but I'm going to shut up because I don't want to get into trouble. And that's a serious problem. Anyway, having said that, I'm going to keep on talking. If I get into trouble, I get into trouble. But I'm going to keep on talking. Yeah. Now, it might be time to do a little work around here instead of just sitting here flapping my gums, talking about stuff and not getting anything done. So, I've expressed my opinion. I've openly expressed it. I freely expressed it. I haven't been given leave to express it, but as I already said, I don't need leave to express it because I have a God-given right to do so. And I'm exercising that God-given right. All right, we'll talk to you later. I got things to do.